Hello, beautiful people. My name is Jennifer Diamond, certified plant-based nutrition coach, and I live a whole food, plant-exclusive, sos-free, gluten-free lifestyle for health and well-being, which gave me my life back, and it can improve your life too. I have reversed chronic disease, lowered inflammation, got off nearly all my medications, lost close to 40 pounds, and kept it off, and so much more. This channel is dedicated to share how I improved, mastered, and continue to heal so you can do it too. Today, I thought I would bring you along as I make sweet apple butternut squash soup. Let's go. So let's make some sweet apple butternut squash soup. I already have some of the ingredients ready to go. Right here we have cut up butternut squash, and I love that these are bright and vibrant orange colors. There's a lot of beta carotene in them, and what I did was I peeled the butternut squash, I sliced it down the middle and opened it and scraped out all the seeds. If you want to keep the skin on, you most certainly can. And it is raw. I didn't do anything with it yet. And then I just cut it into these bite-sized chunks. And so that's the butternut squash. We also have carrots, and I did the same thing. I just cut them into, a similar size as I could, as the butternut squash. I went ahead also here and chopped up one large onion and also some red bell pepper. And that is basically the main ingredients for this. Now, we of course are going to add apple, and we have some other things to place into this, but I just want to say, we're going to roast this, but if you didn't want to roast it and you just didn't have time, you could take all of this, put it in your Instant Pot with some broth and cook it for 8 minutes on high, and then you would be ready to go. But I really wanted to roast it because I think that roasting, if you have the time, really brings out a lot of other flavors, and it just gives it a nice flavor, profile. So what we're gonna do is, I have this Pyrex dish, and I'll just tell you the measurements on this. This is a 38 by 25 by 4 centimeter pan. This is pretty big. I like this one because it has the lips on the side. You could certainly do this on a cookie sheet with a Silpat, or any other type of parchment paper. So I'm gonna move the apples aside. I'm kind of waiting to chop up the apples at the last minute because I want to make sure that they don't start oxidizing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pour this in here. And if you have even a larger one, you could certainly use a larger pan, and having it spread out is also really nice, but I'm kind of going to do like a roasting, steaming type of thing here. And I can certainly mix this right now, but I don't need to. I also want to add some fresh herbs. So right here, we have some thyme and some rosemary. And the rosemary is pretty large, so I might chop that up, but I wanted to take a minute and show you fresh rosemary and fresh thyme. Now, what if you didn't have that? Well, it certainly is going to enhance the flavors, but you can use dry, and you can mix it up. Maybe you don't have either of these, but you have basil, or you have Italian herb. I mean, you could do that. You just have to think about how is that going to taste with the sweetness of the apple. And so anyways, so here is some rosemary. I just want to show you with a little piece here how I take it off the stem. There's like a stick here, and you could certainly put it on like that and roast it. But I am going to kind of do it a little differently. So I take it and I go against the stem, against it, and look at it, just literally scrapes off. So that's how you handle that. And the same goes with thyme. And here's a pile of thyme, fresh thyme. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. And just to show you, in case you're not familiar, it's the same idea, right? Here we have a nice, I guess a twig. And what I like to do is take the top of it and hold on about, you know, 1 or 2 little things in here. And then I just gently, this one I'd be more gently, just literally pull it off. And I have the stem. And then I go back to the top and I just kind of nip these off and put them in there. Now, could you use the stick? Could you use this? You could. I'm not a big fan, so I like to remove it. And then what I do is I collect all the stems and sticks here and I put it in my veggie broth collection of scraps to make veggie broth, and so it'll flavor it nicely. So for a minute, I'm gonna move this aside, and I think I'm just gonna chop up some of the rosemary. We could do both, but I'm just gonna chop up some of the rosemary. Just give it like a rough chop with a knife. Now, it's not easy to use a mortar and pestle unless it's dry. So for fresh, we'll just chop it a little bit. And of course, you don't have to do this, but I'm doing it. Okay, let me grab my favorite scraper. This guy I just love. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back into this bowl. And then what I'm gonna do is just gonna take it and I'm just gonna start to sprinkle it all on top here and just do that. All right, so we are all set. And one more thing that we're gonna do before we add the apples is we're gonna prepare our garlic. And I have this entire head of garlic. This is fresh garlic. What if you didn't have fresh garlic? Again, you can use frozen garlic. I know they sell it, or diced up garlic. That's fine. If you don't even have that, you can use garlic powder or garlic granulates, but the fresh garlic, there's just no comparison. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually chop the tops off, and so that we can kind of see inside here. And now, what am I gonna do with this extra little pieces? I'm keeping them. I'll use them in a salad or somewhere else. Don't be fooled, I'm not gonna waste it. But by having this open, it will allow me to roast it, and then it will allow me to squeeze it out more easily so that I can access this when it's hot. And this guy is kind of over here, look, so I'm just gonna do that on a few of these. This is a kind of a funky clove, but this is the guy that we've got, and so we're gonna use him. There we go. All right, so let me put this aside. And the thing with roasting garlic is I wanna do it at the same time that I'm doing those vegetables, and so I wanna wrap it separately though. And I do use tin foil at times. I prefer to have my food not touch the tin foil. So I have this piece. This is like a recycled piece that I've used already for something else of parchment paper. And I'm just gonna set it in on the parchment paper, and I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up. Now, if that would stay, that would be great, but because I know it won't, I have this piece of tin foil, and I'm gonna go ahead now and wrap it in the tin foil. Now, I could put this in the oven just like that, and it'll roast. Or I could make a little wedge, and I can either take another little piece of parchment paper to line it so that it doesn't touch that, or just kind of, you know, put it so that it's a little bit far. And I think that's what I'll probably end up doing, is what you see here. So this is ready to go, but I want to go ahead and cut up the apples. Now these apples are washed. You can use any apple that you want. Of course, the sweeter the apple, the better. And right now I have an Envy apple and a Fuji apple. I just happen to have those two, but whatever apple you decide to use is fine. And so let me just make a little space here. I love to use the scale over there. Sometimes if I want to weigh things out, it's always nice to have a kitchen scale, although we're not using it together right now, but I did have it out. So you can use the apple with the skin, or you can peel it. I'm gonna leave the skin on. It's got a lot of fiber and it's really good for me, and so I'm gonna do that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it with this apple corer, and just be careful because the underside is sharp. I once cut myself. I don't know if you saw that. I'm gonna use this in my broth, so I'm gonna put it here with the rest of the stuff, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with this apple. You don't have to do this. You can use a knife and chop it up. It really doesn't matter. In the long run, we're gonna be blending everything, so it's not gonna really matter. All right, so I did have a little bit of bruising on this apple. I think it accidentally got dropped or something. So because of that, I'm just gonna cut that part off. But other than that, I'm keeping all the skin on and just kind of checking, seeing if we got everything. I see a little bit of this that I want to just take off, a little bit of the core here. And I'll just put all of this in the broth for later, which I think I can just take a second here and put that all right in this bowl. That's so for later. Okay. And then I want to cut the apple similar size to the other pieces in there. So I'm literally just going to make some bite-sized pieces that are similar to the size of the carrot, onion, and butternut squash. There we go. And this is pretty much it. So let me bring this guy back here. I'm gonna go ahead and dump the apples on here. And now I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. Just wanna make sure. You know, and this looks like a lot. So frankly, we could even have put this in 2 separate dishes, you know, like 2 separate Pyrex dishes. We could even have poured it back into the bowl and mixed it, which may actually be a nice idea because I want to make sure to incorporate all of the fresh herbs that we put in here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add some black pepper, which you could do. I'm not using any oil. I don't cook with oil. I don't ingest oil, not on purpose anyways, not intentionally. And so we don't want to cook with oil, and I am not using any salt. If you like to have salt, but you're trying to stay away from it, go ahead and try a salt substitute. There are so many out there, and they're really, really good. Some of the ones that I enjoy are just, you can get at your local grocery store, like Mrs. Dash, or I know Well Your World sells one that I really like, Galaxy Dust. There's a Benson's Table Tasty. There are some by Savory Spice, and you can check out Savory Spice. I have a link that I will put in the description below, and they've got wonderful salt-free seasonings as well as an array of so many others for all of your other dishes too. So let me just give this one more little quick mix here, and I think we're good to go. I just love playing with my food. Do you ever just love playing with your food? Like really get in there and just become one with it. Right, I don't have any gloves. My hands are clean, but you could, you could put some kitchen gloves on if you want, but I just love feeling this. So, all right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to once again kind of make a little spot, and I'm gonna put my garlic right in the pan. If you have room in your oven, you cannot put it in the pan. You can put it next to the pan, but we want it to roast. And so I am now going to cover it. Now, in the past, if I was using oil, that might caramelize it and brown it. You could keep the cover off, and it will do that, but you will have to mix it up. You could also do this on the stove top and just caramelize it a little bit, or you could even do it in the Instant Pot if you were gonna use the Instant Pot. Either way, I think will work. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of do a steam to it, and then at the very, maybe say 10 or 15 minutes, I'll take it off and let it caramelize that way. Like I said, I don't really care for the aluminum foil to touch my food, so I'm gonna put a piece of parchment paper over the top so that there's a border between the food and the aluminum foil, and that's it. Let's wrap this puppy up, okay? Just nice, firm squeeze. There we go. Now I have the oven set at 350 degrees, and so I'm gonna go ahead and add this in there. I'm gonna put it in for 45 minutes. Please check it at the 25-minute mark. See how it's going, and you decide, okay, I think this is almost done. It's very nice and soft, and in that case, you would take this off and let it cook for just a little bit longer until it starts to brown up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this in the oven. I already preheated. Woo, it's hot. I can feel the heat. Okay, so I got things cleaned up and I am gonna take a peek with you. Let's check this out, pull it out of the oven and see if it's time to just like take the cover off and let it brown. Oh my goodness, it's still heavy. Okay. All right, so let's see how this is coming along now. Woo, it's hot. Okay. Oh yeah. So that looks really good to me. Let me take, I don't know if you can see that, but my glasses just fogged up. Yeah, this is looking really, really good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take this garlic out and set it aside with this little paper. There's lots of liquid in here, which is great. And I am going to stick this back in the oven just for maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, just until I want to just see if we can brown it just a little bit, and that's it. Okay, so it's just about ready, but I thought let's get the rest of the stuff together. And so at this point, let's say if you did do it in the Instant Pot and you skipped roasting it, you would have added some vegetable broth in there, and then you could just take an immersion blender and blend it up. And then you could also add some soy milk or other plant milk if you want to make it a little bit creamier. And of course, you would either put the garlic directly in the pot or you could roast it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this beautiful pot and some veggie broth that I pulled out of the freezer. This is my homemade veggie broth. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this open and pour it in here. Just like that. Now, I'm gonna end up taking the roasted vegetables and placing them in here with the garlic, and then we're gonna use the immersion blender and blend it up. But I just wanna let you know, another option would be if you have a Vitamix or a high-speed blender, a high-powered blender, you could put it all in here and then even put the soup button on, which would really heat up the broth. Just as another way, but I feel like I have way too much and I don't think the whole thing would fit in here, so I could do it in 2 portions, but if you cut the recipe in half, it's just another option to know you can use. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a minute here and let's open up this beautiful garlic. Oh, I love garlic, roasted garlic, yummy. So I always try to be careful to see, sometimes there might be some liquid in the bottom, especially like sometimes I'll do garlic and onion in a wrapper like this, and if there is liquid, which there really isn't here, then I would want to preserve that liquid and add it in as well. And so this looks pretty ready to go. Gosh, I love the smell of this. So we're just gonna bring it over here, and I'm literally, if you want to take a peek, just squeezing it. And see how it just comes right out? Just squeezing it, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And that's it. You're just gonna put the whole thing in there Get as much as you can out of the paper. And you can use as much garlic as you want. I love it, so I'm using the whole thing. I'm just gonna bring some right over here because I wanna show you for a minute what's going on here. So this one still has some in it that just didn't come out. I'm gonna go ahead and add that. And this guy, I guess he didn't get cut, so I'm just gonna squeeze him out like toothpaste, except it's not anything like toothpaste. This piece left with the paper. Now, I personally would put this in my broth. Some people don't like to use the paper part of an onion or garlic because when you save it in your veggie broth scraps, they say it can taste bitter. I think it's fine. You decide. Let me just get these last little bits in here. I had hoped it would brown up a little bit more, but I do see a few little areas where it did, and so it's up to you if you want to go a little bit longer, but I'm just going to go with this. I think this is great. And so what I want to do is move it over to the stove, and I want to gently put it into our pot here. I did turn the fire on. Like I said, you don't have to. It just depends on if you want it really hot or not. And I am just going to go ahead. Oh my goodness, look at this steam on that. And just set it right into the broth. That has also, remember, the garlic. And of course, if there's liquid in the bottom of your pan, well, go ahead and dump it in. It's all yummy goodness. Okay, so here we go. It's, you can go ahead and also add some cream, but it's not really cream. So this is soy milk. I've got this one. You could do homemade soy milk. You could do any plant milk that you want, including coconut milk. Now, I personally don't use coconut milk because it is very, you know, it's high in saturated fat, and I'm trying not to up my cholesterol in any way. If you do use that, it is going to thicken, but also remember, it's going to change the flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and use this unsweetened soy milk. It's organic, and you could skip this part if you want, but I think it'll be fun. So I have just a little bit here. Look at that. It just changes the color and brightens it up so much. And so now I can let it get hot if I want. Even hot, you know, I mean, it's hot, but the liquid wasn't hot, so I could do that. And then I'm just gonna blend it up and serve it. Now, I just want you to know that because I'm not using the Vitamix, I am going to go ahead and use my immersion blender. If you're not familiar with what an immersion blender is or about immersion blenders, I actually have a video that I will link above if you want to check it out, where I do a comparison of 3 different immersion blenders when I was trying to figure out which one would be best for me. And so if you're curious and you haven't seen it, check it out. Now, I went ahead and add the soy milk as it was heating up. But you know what? You could heat it up first, and when it's done heating up, pour it in there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Let's go ahead and blend this. I turned the fire off. I plugged this in, and here we go. Wow. I'd say that's pretty ready to go. It really thickened up nicely. The color is vibrant, and nothing really stuck in my bell here, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. And then you can do, let's plate it and let's try it. Okay. And this is a beautiful, thick, yummy soup. I would eat it with some little pieces of apple on top if you want, or you could even put some more garnish, some kind of green garnish. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. It smells good, and I can't wait to taste it. I have a spoon right here, so let me just move this guy out of the way. Here we go, ready? That's really good. It's very creamy. The flavors are just very subtle, but I can taste them all. This is actually a really soothing soup. If you're looking for something that's like a comfort food, I would definitely recommend this. And I love that I can heat this up later. So I will be taking portions of this, putting it in my super cubes and freezing it in 1 or 2 cup increments, and then putting it in my food saver and having it for a later time when there is no time to cook. This is great to be served with a side salad or a gigantic salad and have this be the side, and then you already have the apple in here, but if you still feel like you want some fruit, well, go ahead and grab some fruit afterwards. Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to eat your greens and give plants a chance. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.